Are you ready, yo?
Like you're ready, yo. We need you to tune in.
She was right outside the door, hyping me up to do it, encouraging me to do it. Well, I popped like 18 Tylenols. I finished drinking the Henny, and I tried to tie. Well, I did. I tied the belt around my neck and hung it on the shower rod, and the shower rod snapped. Thank God. We met in DC at Club Love. It's back when probably like the college vibes. It was a cool little chemistry. Like we exchanged numbers that night after we danced for like 5 songs straight. Really can't describe. It was like one of them young things that you knew was just for the summer, but you wasn't trying to let it end. So that's pretty much what it basically was. And then she was just like one of the homies. She smoked, she talked shit, she liked to chill around the homies and just do the homie shit. When we go out on dates, she get dolled up, so it was like hanging out really like my best friend. She was just bad as shit. Like our vibe was just very different. We could talk about whatever. Was no type of judgment. We just had a different type of vibe that I really didn't have with nobody. I will say around that time. Her ambition, she was goal driven. A lot of things that basically I saw that I knew I wanted in a woman, basically she had those qualities and I really didn't need to look nowhere else. Yeah, and then when it came to me, she really ain't play about me. She really ain't, it wasn't too much of that slick shit. You couldn't really say too much stuff to me. You couldn't really look my way. It was just like on some really Bonnie and Clyde type shit. Like my mother nicknamed us that, and it really like stuck because we was really like two knucklehead rebels that was really like for whatever. When you seen us two coming, ain't no telling what might happen. But I guess that's how real relationships or good genuine relationships supposed to be. I guess you're supposed to connect in all areas. And I guess that's what we really did. Like it was no gray areas until we got pregnant. The transition probably really changed when she got pregnant and I still was hanging with my homies, still living my life, I guess in a sense, because just because you're pregnant don't mean I'm not supposed to I'm not supposed to not have a life. Was I there when I was supposed to? Yes. Every doctor visit, anytime she had a Braxton Hicks and felt like she was having a contraction at the hospital, I've been there. Like I never was not there. In her eyes, she just felt like I wasn't supposed to ever be nowhere else other than beside her. And that, I mean, I guess I can get and understand, but that shouldn't change how you look at me as a man or as the soon-to-be father of your child. All of the qualities that you saw in me that was there from the beginning was still there. The only thing is you pregnant now and you can't come out, you can't do certain things. You got homegirls that want to hang around you while you're pregnant. And I would push for you to do that. And it would seem like, oh, well, you don't want me around, you want to do. And that's when it became fuzzy because it was like, I'm trying to still get ready to be a father, but still not lose myself. And that's really what the whole thing came about. Like once I really got embedded all the way into her, once we found out we was pregnant with everything, I embedded everything into her. I put all my energy, I cut off friends, I cut off a lot of shit to make sure that when my daughter came, that it wouldn't be no issues. And it seemed like the moment that my daughter was born, she went back out here and switched the game up. We couldn't tell you if I was in a relationship, if I was being single, if we was on a break, none of that. We ended up keeping our child because she wanted a baby. And it's not to say that I was out here trying to force an abortion. I never brought an abortion conversation up. I just wanted her to always realize that we young, we don't have nothing. We don't even have a house to call our own. Nothing. We still on some young shit. We still was basically living young. But at the same token, I'm not one to believe in telling a woman what she's supposed to do with her body. And if you lay down, you feel me, and that's what come from it, then you gotta man up and do what you gotta do. I feel like our relationship started getting better probably want to say like when Anaya turned 2, I think that my daughter's mother was starting to see that I'm not the typical baby father that's just gonna walk away or just gonna give up because I got some drama with my baby mama. Like, I was never that type of dude. I feel like our stuff got better because we started doing more family things. We was more embedded in each other, more worried about just us. I think it got better too on a financial part because I was helping her find new trades, new ways of getting money, legal. New job opportunities was coming around, so it was just more like the stress of being young parents was starting to like load up, like free up a little bit. So it made us getting closer a lot more easy at the time because we ain't had to worry about certain things. It got so good to the point where, you feel me, I asked her to marry me, and we was engaged. We was engaged 2015. I proposed at Benihana's, right there at the table, with like 4 other couples that we ain't even know. I actually had went in the bathroom, and it was a dude that was at the table, and he was married and everything, and I asked him how he proposed. So it was like once I started seeing that was the route prior to that I knew that eventually I was going to get engaged there, I started seeing the changes. And then once we got engaged, it was cool. It was all right. We moved to Virginia, and once we moved to Virginia, I was working. I had the car. She was a stay-at-home mom. Like, she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and go to school. Cool, not a problem. Got me a good job, pay the rent, pay the car notes, insurance. We good. Stay at home. But it was once I started to become more independent, more starting to find, the man that I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to take care of my family and everything like that. So I'm out here staying at work later. I'm hanging out with coworkers. I'm learning this new city that we in, and I'm inviting her to come do things, and she don't want to do it. So I guess she started to feel like, oh, well, I'm out here. He basically living a whole different life now, when all in actuality, I'm trying to live this life to make sure that our family good. We in a whole different state. We don't know nobody. I'm learning new things. I'm trying to get you to come out to meet other mothers, other parents, and with their kids and interact. And I guess it came to a point where she just felt like, he not gonna need me no more. I come back from basically while we was in Virginia, I got cheated on during my engagement. I got cheated on twice during my engagement. Came home from work, and energy just was mad different. And conversations were had, and basically I was told that I got to deal with her being with another nigga while I take care of her and pay these bills inside this house. And I don't know no man out here that want to hear that. I don't even know no women that want to hear something like that, especially from somebody you engaged with. And you thinking that you to move to this new state, you got a good job, y'all got a house, shit you did for her that she ain't had to come out of pocket for. And that's how you get played. That shit killed the man in me. I think when I moved to Virginia that was the first time I did some adult shit, I can say. Some real man type shit. Like, I moved my whole family to a whole nother state to give them better. And to know that I got played the way I did, that shit crushed every part of, I guess you could say, my manhood. Because it's just not some, oh, this your boyfriend and you cheated on him and kept it moving. This is somebody that you basically was getting ready to spend the rest of your life with, have a child with, doing all of these great things now, and you smack them in the face by dealing with somebody that you more than likely not gonna be with. And that's how it played out to be. She ended up not being with dude much longer after we ended up moving back home from Virginia. So with that whole situation, it definitely made me feel less of a man. It made me feel like I definitely lost my confidence. I definitely felt like, well, damn, I'm the most bullshit ass nigga. Because apparently me moving y'all to Virginia and making you a stay-at-home mom and all that shit wasn't never what you really wanted. It was something that you probably wanted, but you never wanted it from me. The way I was feeling once I heard all of that, it basically like fuck this shit. Like I definitely went to the liquor store, definitely got drunk as shit, smoked, and I tried to process all of this shit. Like I tried to process from the moment we got pregnant to the moment all of this shit happened to get us to Virginia, process over the years of like all this shit that I ignored. And it was just like, yo, I'm tired of all this embarrassment. Like the whole time that I was with her, it was like embarrassment after embarrassment after embarrassment. And you feel me? I'm not to say not out here walking around like I'm perfect, because I probably did some things or said some things. But I know I made a change to better the situation that we was in. It wasn't never to go backwards. I was always making the forward steps. So once I got back in the crib, I just processed everything and I was just like, fuck it. Like, no more embarrassment. I'm gonna just end my life. Like, it's no point, you feel me? Like, I'm sitting here being a father, I'm being soon to be husband, trying to do all these things, taking care of rent, paying all this car note, doing all this shit by myself with somebody that don't give a fuck about me. So I went to the bathroom, took a whole bunch of pills, tried to hang myself. I popped like 18 Tylenols. I finished drinking the Henny. And I tried to I tied the belt around my neck and hung it on the shower rod. And the shower rod snapped. Thank God.
This is a wild game of survival.
But all before I did any of that, she was right outside the door, hyping me up to do it, encouraging me to do it. Like being that, you know, you got that angel and that devil voice on your shoulder. She was definitely with the devil on the shoulder dancing, trying to get a nigga to be on some goofy shit. And in that time, I wasn't thinking about nothing. I wasn't thinking about anything, just for my daughter. And I'm just sitting here like, for the rest of her life, she'd be good if I wasn't here because she ain't had to worry about her mother keep beefing and arguing and all that shit. And that's when I say the selfishness came in. Like I was real selfish behind trying to do that. And that's the one thing I regret about the whole thing, was being selfish to know that I was getting ready to take my life before my daughter could even experience any type of life with me. Like my daughter was only 3 at the time. Came out the bathroom and the police was at the door. Basically I went and stayed in the facility for 7 days. They tried to put me on some type of medicine that had me hallucinating and all of this, and had me speak to a therapist, and I got cleared to come home. After I came home, we had a conversation. My mother came down and stayed at the crib for like 2-3 days with me. And we had a conversation, and I went to work, came back home, and she packed her stuff and was leaving. From that day till now, I've washed my hands with her emotions, anything emotionally tied to her, any type of feeling. I really have deaded every part of that, because I got a whole daughter to worry about nowadays. I don't really have too much time to worry about stuff that don't matter. And seeing as though I chose you to be the woman that's supposed to have my back through sickness, through health, through all of that, and to know that you was on the outside of a door, basically egging me on, feeding me on, instead of being my protector, I guess, I can't respect that. I feel like, well, my healing process, it started with my big sister Slick. Through that whole situation, from the moment that shit went down, I called Slick when I came home from the facility. And Slick stayed on the phone with me for an hour. With that first hour, we was on the phone for hours. Within that first hour, she cried on the phone for 40 minutes. And I'll never forget that shit. And that's the day I probably realized that people really out here do give a fuck about me, or really care about me, or really, if something was to happen to me, nobody would know how to handle that, or really be able to deal with that. So my healing started with coming back around friends that I cut off, that shouldn't have been cut off, getting back into writing music, doing shows, getting in the studio, playing basketball, just doing shit that made me happy for once, and really like just about me. And then once I came back home, it was just like, my daughter know who I am. I had to really like put it in my head, like no matter what, my daughter sees what I do, she knows the kind of man I am. She'll be able to decipher if I'm this bad man or whatever the case may be. I think my healing process just came from just being around my daughter and really taking them 4 years of being to myself, like not dating. I wasn't really getting caught up enough, and I just was working, paying attention to the things that I needed to pay attention to. I had a therapist back then, but then I stopped going. But then I ended up going back probably last year and really getting back into finishing the healing that I needed to do. I finally got the apology from her. Not to say that I was out here looking for it, or not to say that I was ever banking on ever getting one, but it came to a point where I think she realized what she did to me, and I took the apology and I accepted it, and I grew from it. Never been in that space again. I've never thought to be in that space again. Do I suffer from anxiety and depression? Yes. Do I know where it stems from and parts that play in it? Yeah, I know definitely where it comes from. But that's a space that I definitely don't wish on any man. I would hope that nobody would ever get in that space. Because trying to take your life over something like that, like I can get how bad it hurts and how painful it is, but it ain't worth it. Because they always say, while you out here hurting, being sad, that motherfucker living their life being happy. So when it come down to it, I never put my all into women. I feel like it's cool to give yourself to them and be around and whatever, but until you really find somebody that really got your best interest, it's really no point, because they'll change on you like the weather.
I'll never follow your path. I'll make mine and I won't look back. I'll never go down your road. I find my way on my own. I'm never gonna fall in line. Your future is not mine. Your future is not mine.